Hey toy fans, Aaron here. Today taking a look at the Star Wars Vintage Collection release of Cassian Andor from, of course, the Andor series. As you see here, you got to look at the action figure on the card. Everything I think is looking great. You got the Andor branding along the top, and of course his name in just that name pill doesn't break down the figure by planet or mission or anything. You got a great image of Cassian Andor on his homeworld. I believe this is from Ferrix. And of course, through the blister, you got a good look at the action figure along with the included blaster. Backside of the card, you can see he's number 261 in the Vintage Collection line. Along the top half of the card, you got various other figures that are also available right around now. It's a mix of this current wave, and I believe Obi-Wan and Vader were from previous wave. And bottom half of the card is legal information. And now looking at just the figure itself, overall, really good looking figure. As far as the height of the figure, he does stand at 3.86 inches tall, so a little over 3 3/4, or otherwise 9.8 centimeters tall. Sculpting for the face looks fantastic. I believe this is our first photo real paint job of a Vintage Collection release for Cassian Andor, and compared to what we received in the Rogue One line, this is just a huge improvement. Sorry, not Rogue One line, Rogue One release on the Vintage Collection. Hair detailing looks great. Painting for the eyes, the beard looks fantastic as well. And overall, just like as I said, a really good sculpt that certainly looks like the character. As for the upper half of the body, the first thing you'll note is he's wearing a very large overcoat. Detailing looks great. You've got a lot of seams sculpted into the plastic of that. Good placement for the darker brown colors painted in, and it is molded in that burgundy color. You do have two parts to this outer coat, or I guess technically three. The sleeves of the coat are sculpted onto the arms of the figure itself, and otherwise that bulkier center part is just an outer shell. You could certainly peel it off if you want. Of course, the figure's going to just look weird though because the sleeves won't match, but having it done as a separate piece certainly gives the figure some added dimension, so I definitely like what they're choosing to do here. What's also great when you lift the arms up of the figure, really the seams of that outer jacket are hugging the arms quite well. You know, some of the older figures, you move an arm up and you would see the color of the inner shirts, and that's really just not happening here. I mean, yeah, I guess you could argue there's a smidge of blue showing in the armpit of his right arm, but I'm quite all right with that. Otherwise, I think when you move arms around, everything still looks like it belongs. As far as that blue undershirt, I think technically that's probably 2 layers of clothing. I think that green represents the edges of some sort of inner coat maybe, and then a blue shirt underneath that. Anyways, whatever. Detailing still looking pretty good. You can make out the collar of the shirt, and it looks like maybe there's some texturing along the green edges of that inner coat. Kind of got some tension being shown as it goes underneath the holster, his belt holster. And that's also where you're going to find your waist articulation, is right in that seam on the top edge of the holster, or belt rather. Sadly, there is no holster included on this figure. Kind of peel back that coat and you'll see you got great detailing along the belt and some various silver things sculpted in, but unfortunately nowhere to put the blaster that is included with the figure. Otherwise, belt and buckle detailing look great. Good gold painting, staying pretty much, it seems right where it needs to be. And then extending out below the bottom of his belt, you got some shirt tails and such sculpted in. And then getting to the legs of the figure, his hip joint does have that new hinge system. Those legs move around quite well. And that shell of his coat is pretty soft. Relatively soft, I should say, so things extend out and it doesn't hinder the movement too much. I think you're still going to get what you want out of it. Detailing for the pants sculpting looks good. Front pocket sculpted in at the top of the thighs. Otherwise, just lots of wrinkles, ruffles, and such. You got what looks like some bandages, or maybe it's just dark gray coloring for the pants itself around the kneecaps. And same coloring for the boots sculpted in. Again, good detailing on the boots. You see some straps sculpted around the top of the ankle and on the top of the foot. As for the articulation of the figure, I will say right now I do have some limits that could be either due to maybe the way things are sculpted, or some joints are just currently frozen on me and I haven't been able to pop them loose. But as for the head of the figure, he does rotate all the way around, but I'm not able to get any nodding up and down or side to side. Shoulder movement's great, lifts up, spins around, and your elbows also hinge and swivel. Both wrists swivel all the way around, but due to the extension of the sleeves on the jacket, at least on my figure, I am not able to take advantage of any of the hinge movement up and down. You get your swiveling at the waist and some crunching forward and back. Again, the legs, as I mentioned, at the top of the thigh, you can swing them out, bring them straight out, and a little bit back. You get your rotation at the top of the thigh, The knees bend back and also rotate all the way around, and then you've got your rocking at the ankles and your rotation with those. As for accessories, it comes with a single blaster, decent detailing to it. I think it's fairly representative of what we saw in the show. It sits very well in his right hand with the trigger finger extended. No complaints on that. Aside from the touch of brown at the handle, no other special painting or weathering being done. Honestly, quite all right with it. I mean, I don't know, it's just a little blaster. I'm good with how it looks. So overall for me, I think it's a great looking figure. I'm happy to see something from one of their new properties. I think the biggest downfall is not with the figure itself, but that there's just nothing else to go along with it. Sure, we have Val from the same wave, but with the design of this figure, that's two different areas of the series. So you just don't have anything for him to interact with. You don't have Luthen or any of his other pals from Ferrix. No vehicles. And honestly, I'm probably getting down the rabbit hole of what's just a much larger discussion, is that there's just not much support for these shows with the action figures. But I'm certainly happy to see this one released again. Like I said, I think it looks fantastic. And hopefully, 20 years, maybe we'll have the rest of the figures for the main line, something for them to go along with, who knows. But as for this one, I think it's definitely one that's worth adding to your collection. So that's going to wrap this one up. As always, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this figure in the comments section below, and thanks for watching.